the Korea Ultimate Tournament. Get ready.
It takes you to open up your eyes to see the light. It's all around you. It takes you to open up your eyes to see the light. It's all around you. It's all around.
Greetings from Seoul, Korea, and welcome to the GOMTV Avertech Intel Classic. This is Nick Tasteless Plot, and I am really happy to be here because we have now broken down this 128-person tournament to only 32 Korean pro gamers left. This is now the phase of the tournament where some of the pro gamers that had auto berths into the later phase of the tournament, which is this one, are now going to be debuting their first games in this event. Those two players in particular will be Zelos and sAviOr. Oh, and excuse me, also Never. So, you know, I gotta say, I'm very excited to be down here casting these games. I think we have some very interesting matches. The match listing for today is going to be sAviOr versus ToSky, Effort versus Never, Great versus Violet, and Zelos versus Shuttle. Now, the map listing for the event today, we've mixed it up a little bit. It's going to be Coliseum first, then Andromeda, and if we go to a third game, it will be on Othello. Now the first the first matchup, sAviOr versus ToSky is Zerg versus Zerg. These always makes for some very fast-paced and exciting games, and I'm very excited to be casting this game, especially because sAviOr's in it. He's one of my favorite Zerg players. He was easily the #1 Zerg player of all time not long ago. He's now in a bit of a slump, actually. However, I think he certainly has potential to get out of this slump. His slump's been going on for about a year now, but not long ago he was simply put dominating. I mean, a lot of people thought he was just never going to be beaten. He did show some great games in the GSI, although he did unfortunately not make it out of his group. He lost in a game he was winning against Flash, which ultimately cost him the game. But I think we're going to see some exciting games coming up here. Now, ToSky, we don't know too much about him, to be honest. He's reasonably new, and I would honestly say he's the underdog. Now, this is Zerg versus Zerg, a very fast and unforgiving matchup where if you make one little mistake within the first 2 to 3 minutes, it can cost you the entire game. So both of them are going to have to bring their A games, no doubt. Also, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Oh, I see the camera's on me now. Thank you to our sponsors at Intel for making this event possible. And thank you to all of you at home who are watching. We really appreciate this. And I think this is going to be a very exciting group of games. The next match, Effort versus Never. These are two lesser-known players, but they're also they're very skilled. They managed to make it this far into the tournament. And I think they certainly have a lot of potential. And here's the lineup again for today, just so we can match the names with the faces. So the two players I was talking about on the right, Effort and Never, we've seen them both play in this event previously. I think, if I remember correctly, Effort was the player who beat ToSky. I should know this right off the bat, but casted so many games of StarCraft in my casting career. But yes, I do believe he was the player who beat ToSky, and also Never also showed a very exciting game, and I managed to really impress us. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. Feel free to check those out on the site. I don't know if we're going to have an intro video for ToSky or not. Some of the less known players around here, we usually do give them intro videos. However, I do believe ToSky is a bit more known of the lesser known players, if that makes any sense at all. The next match, Great versus Violet, I do think that's going to favor Violet, but that does not mean that Great cannot come out with a win. And finally, Zelos versus Shuttle. Shuttle actually having the best win record right now at the tournament. He has not lost a single game. However, Zelos, a very accomplished Terran player, he was one of the best and then kind of entered a slump and is now essentially broken that slump and is really back in there, performing quite well, which is very exciting. He's also, he has a lot of female fans, Zelos does, basically for his good looks, from what they tell me, but I think he's still going to have a hard time against Shuttle, who is really been doing well against Terran, 6-0 against Terrans. Again, this is the largest tournament in Korea. We have a lot of very accomplished players here. All the big names are down here. It's going to be a lot of games with Zerg today, and also a lot of, well, pretty even distribution of games with Terran and Protoss. We're pretty much going to get all the Zerg matchups covered today. So if you're a Zerg player, this is going to be a good day for you. You'll pretty much get to get educated on all those fronts.
자, 이렇게 지금 연습 행진을 펼치고 있는 선수들이 오늘 또 출전한 선수들이 있으니까.
So Zerg versus Zerg, this is a matchup that generally focuses on Zerglings and Mutalisks. It's pretty much impossible to go for Hydralisks, Lurkers, Ultralisks, Defilers, anything, Queens, even anything except for maybe, Overlords and Drones, of course, too. But even those can be difficult to squeeze out. It's a very unforgiving matchup. So definitely watch all of those. And remember, the games are going to get better and better and better as we begin to eliminate the players from this tournament. This is really when the event is starting to heat up. There's nobody that has gotten here for free, so to speak. Even the players that had auto berths had to have one game that they won at least. And these players that managed to make it from the 128 player spot are really indicating that they're very strong, newer professional gamers. sAviOr is a member of the team CJ, a very popular StarCraft team. Has a lot of very good players. And of course, ToSky is a member of RACAF, the people who managed to win the Pro League last season. So clearly we have two very accomplished teams competing here. Also note that ToSky already managed to beat one of CJ's players the first round of the tournament. So this is sAviOr's chance to kind of avenge that. None of these Zerg vs. Zerg games are probably going to go over the 5-minute marker. Well, and actually I should say the 10-minute marker. But I mean, to be honest, there are games that end in 5 minutes. And I think both players are ready to start, so we're going to get this going very soon. They both joined and are confirming that they're ready. So let's get this thing going. So sAviOr is going to be red. And trust me, I looked very carefully this time at what his color was. And that makes ToSky yellow at the top right. Fortunately for sAviOr, he is scouting in the correct direction. This is a 4-player map. So, kind of like rolling dice, odds or evens. They have to choose one direction they're going to scout. Now, interestingly enough, we have ToSky, which appears to be scouting the bottom left position, which is also another scouting technique that Zerg sometimes use. They'll scout the cross spot and then send a drone out to check one of the other spots. Finding your opponent early on in this matchup is critical. There are only a few options that you really have in this game, and well, in Zerg versus Zerg, I mean, for the first few buildings, you can either get your hatchery first, your spawning pool first, and it's a matter of exactly when you get those two buildings first that really affect how the game's going to play out. Also, of course, the location of the hatchery is critical. It looks like sAviOr's going to be going for an early spawning pool. Almost looked like he was going to take that extractor. Yes, he will take the extractor. Where it looks like ToSky is going to focus a little bit more on economy. And sAviOr has incredible Zergling control. I mean, just absolutely incredible Zergling control. which is going to be tough for ToSky. I also think sAviOr's decision-making is pretty strong. However, I think his real strength is in his ability to macro and mass up, which is something that you really don't get to do a lot in this matchup. It's more of a micro matchup and a psychology-based matchup. So we see right off the bat, actually, to be frank, this game could end in about 2 minutes here. sAviOr 9 pooling just so happens to be very strong against the build that we see being used by ToSky. Looks like that girl forgot to write something on her sign. Okay, we have the spawning pool coming up now, but Zerglings are already on the way. Zergling's now on the move, and obviously sAviOr's already spotted where his opponent is. Zerglings are going to come down here. Now the pool is pretty late. I would guess that either the hatchery of the expansion will be lost or a lot of drones will be picked off. In fact, the spawning pool slows it down. The Zerglings are getting very close now. And I do believe that Never simply went for the wrong build order, and sAviOr's going to win this game right off the bat. This is probably going to be a 1-0 victory for sAviOr if he can manage to get more than 3 drones, which should be pretty easy at this point. It should be an almost 100% sure win for him. Here he comes in here now. The drones grouping together, now moving back. 1 drone down, and 2 drones down. Now pulling out, going to the expansion. 2 more Zerglings joining in. He has to keep these drones alive. He can't afford to do this. sAviOr knows all he has to do is pick off a few more drones, and this game's going to be over. Here come a few Zerglings now, but unfortunately the rate at which they're coming out is not very good. I'm glancing over into sAviOr's booth. You can see a confident glare in his eyes. Now sAviOr ignoring the upcoming Zerglings, and it's going to go for the hatchery. Another very smart move. Okay, and here we go. ToSky said GG. I think that was the shortest game I have casted at this event. Okay, I think that game was under 3 minutes. Yeah, sAviOr knows he's a badass. Okay, so ToSky really not going with the same build. I don't believe it was wise for him to go for the expansion hatchery, at least before the pool. Like that. It was a bit of a risk, but I don't know. You know, sometimes as the early Zerg build orders, if you're going to go for fast hatchery and expansion, you are essentially taking a big risk and saying to yourself that I do not believe that any Zerg would honestly 9-pull speed Zergling rush me on this map due to the architecture of it. And apparently this was a bad decision because sAviOr clearly was confident doing that, and it looks as though ToSky misread the possible effective build orders on this map, and also misread what type of build orders his opponent prefers to do, because I have seen sAviOr go for speed Zerglings before, so I think he probably should have studied him a little bit better. Now, can he recover from this? Can he essentially make the right decisions and come out with a different build order, or perhaps the same build order but on the correct map? That's what we want to wait and see. But yeah, to be honest, that was a pretty simple, straightforward game. It was simply bad build order picking. That is not normally what StarCraft is like, although it can be, which is what makes it very exciting for those of you who are just now tuning in. And for those of you who are interested in seeing some more of sAviOr's games, we have stuff from him in the GSI, the previous tournament that GOMTV hosted, well, one of the previous tournaments. We actually had a few special events in between then, but also in between, well, even in this event, we had some very exciting games with sAviOr against Chief. Next map is going to be Andromeda, so let's see how these players do it. Both players are ready to go, neither of them watching the replay again, which we do allow them to do, although they have to watch it on ×8. So it looks like both are confirming that they're ready, so I do believe this game's going to start in a few seconds. I'm trying to play off of the... sAviOr's going to be the blue Zerg at the top right. ToSky at the bottom left as the teal Zerg. So how is ToSky going to play this differently? Or will he play this differently? His build might actually, or at least the build he did last time, might work a little bit better. On a map like this, you are pretty far apart. They're also in cross spots, but neither player knows that yet. However, bear in mind that essentially, ToSky has been humiliated in that previous game. I mean, that is a pretty embarrassing way to lose, especially after you practice whatever build order you were doing, trained with your team for days, sometimes even weeks for matches like this to get slam dunked. I mean, he basically got suplexed. He looked like a total jobber back there. He has to come back and do something. sAviOr probably feels very confident. sAviOr was licking his lips pretty wildly back there, hungry to defeat his opponent. First Overlord's going to be out for sAviOr. ToSky this time going for the 9-pull build. Looks like sAviOr has probably assumed that his opponent might be a little bit more intimidated and play defensively and is instead going to go for an econ build. And it looks like sAviOr is going to do a similar build to what he did last time. However, he will get the pool and the extractor on 12. And essentially, this build is more economical and safer than the build we see ToSky doing. So it looks like sAviOr's pretty much predicted that ToSky is going to go for a very aggressive build this time. Probably not willing to lose in the same way he did last time, and hoping that maybe sAviOr will get confident enough to go hatchery first. However, sAviOr is doing a pretty in-the-middle build. Now the Zerglings are out. I do believe that ToSky will probably pull his drones off of the Vespian gas. Or he may keep them on there. No, he's going to keep 2 on there instead of 3. And possibly, after he upgrades Zergling speed, get a layer, go 1 hatch layer. Put the second hatchery up a little bit later on. A few Zerglings are out. sAviOr's build much more economical, although I honestly don't know what ToSky's doing with the Zerglings. I'm sorry, I have no idea what those Zerglings are doing there. Maybe he wants to wait for his opponent to attack him and then he can counterattack. Okay, now he's regrouping. However, I do believe I just think he pretty much wasted an ample opportunity to possibly rush in there and maybe try to pick on some drones. sAviOr's now making a sunken colony. Looks like he's going to manage to get up here. Zergling speed is done. He's waited for the Zergling speed, now moving up here. The sunken colony is out. sAviOr's going to have to micro pretty carefully. Here come the Zerglings now. And it looks like they managed to get in here. I do believe sAviOr will hold this off with drone control, although we do see a sizable amount of Zerglings now attacking a few drones. Looks like he's going to get 2 drones, and maybe even 3 drones here. This could hurt sAviOr's economy quite a bit. sAviOr already has the layer up, 1 hatch layer, and a Spire already on the way. sAviOr's going to have to get a Spire out fast. Here's his Spire now. sAviOr pulling the drones off of the Vespian gas geyser to try to get a few more minerals out here. He needs to collect a few more drones. Bear in mind, though, that ToSky does not have very many drones. He essentially sacked drones early on in order to get an early offensive. sAviOr actually, or well, perhaps assuming that his opponent was a bit more intimidated than he actually was, would not attack. Now sAviOr has 3 drones in the Vespian gas geyser. Both Spires going to finish at about the same time. Looks as though ToSky's already spotted sAviOr's Overlord and will follow that with his own so he can hunt that down and pick it off. Since the Spire is at 300 HP, he will probably have to start saving larvae. Now, the issue here, though, is that ToSky only has 1 hatchery, so he can't get more than 3 Mutalisks. He'll have to get that Overlord. Actually, looks like he has spotted both Overlords, so sAviOr's going to have to defend these Overlords so he can keep up in the Mutalisk count. It's going to be a is going to involve a lot on whether or not these Overlords can survive. Savior needs to keep these Overlords alive. The Overlord finishes right as the Spire finishes. Here it is now. And Mutalisks are beginning to morph. Looks like only 2, no 4. Mutalisks still already outnumber ToSky's. However, ToSky's closer to the Overlords. ToSky playing this game a lot better than he played the first one. I have to hand it to him. Savior attempting. Looks like Savior got Zergling speed. He wants to force his opponent to make one extra group of Zerglings. Looks like Savior's going to get in here now, knowing that the Zergling count would be a little bit lower. Savior going to back off with his Zerglings. He wants to force his opponent to not use the Mutalisks to get the Overlords. Now, Savior has to make, ToSky has to make a critical decision now. 2 Scourge, 2 Mutalisks. I think a wise distribution. He can have 1 Scorch hit each Mutalisk. And I do believe Savior is going to win this. Here comes him with the Mutalisk now going to take out the first Overlord. Savior's on the move now, though. He's going to split all 4 of these Scorch, hit each individual Mutalisk. And Overlord goes down. Looks like he's going to have to micro pretty carefully. ToSky not quite doing as good of a job. Here come the Zerglings now picking on some drones. Looks like ToSky actually out-microed Savior. Using the patrol button to micro those mutas. And it looks as though Savior is actually going to be expanding towards a location that is very unlikely for his opponent to check, since neither player really has map control with the Overlords. Well, actually, ToSky has a little bit of control. He will not hit that Overlord with a Scourge. In case you're confused as to why he's doing that, they need to save the Scourge for the Mutalisks. Both players now attempting to expand. Savior may be double expoing. Either that drone is taking a nap, I don't know. Oh! Very nice snipe there with the Scourge, getting the Overlord before it hatched. Or actually, as it hatched. Talk about a crappy life for that Mutalisk. And excuse me, I said it was an Overlord. It was a Mutalisk. I was just testing you. Here we have a few more Mutalisks out here. They are clumped together very carefully. Good Zerg players will always hotkey the Mutalisks with 1 Overlord, because if the Overlord is spaced on the other side of the map, he will manage to get, the Mutalisks will manage to clump together a lot more, making them harder to target fire than the weaker ones. Alright, so we've got the Mutalisks now essentially patrolling around the map. Savior wants to pick off any stray Overlords. ToSky knows he has to win this if he wants to come out on top. Here's the battle now, and the Scourge are going to get in there first. Savior did not micro very well, nor did he split the Scourge very well, but I'm not sure who has more Mutalisks. It's difficult to say. 2 more Scourge come into the battle. ToSky is really proving that he does have incredible Mutalisk micro. I believe Savior is going to lose this battle. 1 Muta remains. And 2 more Scourge on the way, but I think he can out-micro those Scourge if he controls his Mutalisks well enough. And the Scourge are moving in now. Oh! He did manage to get it. Savior, however, has double expanded, which, to be honest, ToSky is going to have to do something about pretty quickly. Getting 2 extra extractors, I should say, will allow him to get ahead in the Mutalisk count. More Scourge on the way, but Savior's going to micro pretty carefully. And looks like he's going to have to wait for this egg to hatch. ToSky sacks 1 Scourge in order to ensure that Mutalisk will not be killed at birth. Savior focusing most of his economy on the Scourge because he is producing a few drones. He's going to use Scourge to try to defend. Looks like we're going to have some Zerglings possibly sneak in here. I thought Savior got Zergling speed. Does not look like he did. He's going to back off, though, because he's been spotted by that Overlord. And sounds like that certainly complete his mission. Scourge coming in here now, and one Zergling to try to harass the drones. I don't know if it's going to work. Is he going to? Oh, nope. No, it did not. One Spore Colony coming up here. Now watch, can sAviOr micro as well as ToSky has this game? No, he cannot. This is turning out to be a pretty late game, Zerg versus Zerg. This is the moment where you consider it late game, is after the expansions are up. While that may seem more like early game to the average StarCraft player. Zerg vs. Zerg at good levels, or top levels like this, is very fast, very unforgiving. More Scourge on the move. And it's difficult to say who's actually ahead. Normally you want to look at how dark the shadows are underneath the Mutalisks. They do look as if they are equally dark, although it appears as though sAviOr has the higher Scourge count. Is he going to get this Overlord? It looks as though he will. Oh! As he attempted to come up from behind. Unfortunately for ToSky, he does not have the Mutalisk count. Oh my gosh. sAviOr is going to dominate. He simply, ToSky is completely falling apart, and good game! The Mutalisks are taken out, and well played by sAviOr, double exploit, getting the second extractor. sAviOr will move on to the top 16 of the tournament, and his female fans are very happy, and I believe it is about 90% female fans down here today. ToSky probably disappointed, but he did not play as poorly as he did in that previous game. There's sAviOr, former #1 Zerg player. The top spot for Zerg is currently occupied by J-Dog. What exciting games. Coming up next, we've got Effort versus Never. A Zerg versus Terran. So please stay tuned for that.